Imagine this. You get the opportunity to meet your hero, your idol, somebody who can do something that you just can't do. Somebody who you're proud of and go, wow, they did an amazing thing. What do you say to them? And more importantly, what do they say back to you? In this video, we're looking at 2 Kings chapter 2, where Elijah's taken up to heaven, and his apprentice, Elisha, is given the mantle. He takes over the job. We're going to look at this story and see how the lessons from that can apply to our lives today. Hi, my name's Todd, and I want to start with this little story I heard a number of years ago. There was this guy. He describes himself as a very ordinary dude, liked to play guitar, and was always, envious, jealous of guys who could really play well. And so one day he enters one of these radio call-in contests, and he won backstage passes to a concert of the Dire Straits. Now, if you don't know who the Dire Straits are, famous band from the 80s, and the lead guitarist, Mark Knopfler, is legendary for being able to do just about anything with a guitar. He is top shelf guitarist, the best of the best. So this guy is really excited to go and meet his hero, Mark Knopfler. And so he goes to the show. It's amazing, there's the music, and he finally, at the end of the show, gets a chance to hang out with the band. And he comes up to Mark and he says, wow, that was amazing. You are so good. I'd give my life to be able to play the guitar like that. What does Mark say back to him? He says, I did. I gave my life to play like this. The story is actually told by Mark Knopfler, because he often gets this kind of interaction where somebody says, I wish I could play like this. And he says, people don't understand all the effort that I put into it. He's like, you guys are out hanging out with the girls on Friday nights, partying it up. Well, I was practicing in my guitar in my parents' garage. You guys were working a job. I was busking. You guys were doing this. I was doing this. Always refining his guitar technique, coming up with new ideas. He gave his life to be a master. And in the story today, Elijah has a new apprentice. And this new apprentice wants to be a master. So what does Elijah have to basically say to him? He's like, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to go from a place where you kind of know what you need to do and put in all the practice you need to come to a place where you just do the right thing unconsciously? When Mark Knopfler plays the guitar, he's not thinking, he's just playing. But a schmo like me, when we're playing the guitar, we're thinking, oh, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do that. Well, that's what often happens in our spiritual life, right? You get in a tough situation and you have to tell yourself, oh, you know what? I need to be honest. Or, oh, I need to bite my tongue and not say those mean things because it's just not nice. We got to think our way through it. And what Elijah is saying to Elisha, are you willing to get to a place and put the effort in that you can do those things without thinking about it? To the point where we really are a master. That's the symbolic meaning of the journey Elijah takes Elisha on. Because they start off in Gilgal, and at the beginning of something, we're always excited. Go, yeah. He says, oh, well, I need to go to Bethel. Are you willing to go there? You don't have to. Elisha says, yes, I'll go there. So you're willing to go from the beginning state to a place where you're willing to study symbolically. It's about studying the Lord and all the aspects of God in your life. Are you willing to understand that God's ways aren't our ways and be okay with that when things don't turn out the way you expect? Elisha says yes. Oh, okay. Well, Lord's calling me to go to Jericho now. You don't have to go to Jericho. Elisha says, yes, I'm going to go to Jericho with you. So they go to Jericho, and he says, well, this is about us and our lives. Are we willing to take the teachings we learn from Scripture and apply them in day-to-day life? It's one thing to be in the ivory tower and think all these good thoughts and have these good thoughts and have good intentions, but are you willing to bring them down to Jericho? Are you going to actually do them, right? Elisha says, yep, I'm going to do that. All right, well, if you really want to be a master, you know what? Lord's calling me over across the Jordan. Are you going to come across the Jordan? You don't have to come across the Jordan. Yes, master, wherever you go, I'm going. You see, Elijah comes up to that river and he parts the water. He has mastery over the boundary because this boundary is really important. We see it a few times in Scripture. And it's a boundary between a life outside the Holy Land where you're doing things out of obedience to a life inside the Holy Land where you're doing things from a deeper spiritual context. You're trying to do the right things for the right reason. Outside the Holy Land, you're following the 10 Commandments, all those 600 Jewish dietary rules and ritual rules because, well, God said so and that's how we've got to do. But on the other side of the Holy Land, you're actually thinking a little bit deeper about things. Can you get, Elisha, can you get people from the outside to the inside? Can you cross that boundary? Can you give them the dry land? Are you willing to be that kind of a master where you've got all of these things figured out? Are you willing to give your life to be this way? You like the miracles that I can do, Elisha? Are you willing to do all this? Because Elijah, he's given his life to God. He has done everything that God has asked. It hasn't always been easy for him, but he's at the place where he's now a master. So when we see Elijah lifted up into heaven and there's this chariot of fire, it's a sign that Elisha, because he can see this, he has the intellectual understanding of Scripture. And because the chariot's in fire, it's about love, right? So he approaches all these intellectual concepts from the perspective of love. Not of controlling other people, not about being right, not about being proud of how smart he is. He's approaching all this intellectual stuff from the perspective of love. He sees him go up. And now we have the Elisha state. Something that's even more powerful because he is a master. He is now a master. He's a continuation, really, of Elijah. So when we think about these kind of stories, this is what God is calling us to. He calls us to it in the creation story, right? Seventh day is a day of rest. It's a day of mastery. Jesus' life is a life of mastery over hell. Moses' life is mastery over materialism and Egypt. So in all these stories, there is this pathway and this journey that leads to a conclusion of spiritual mastery. In this case, it's a mastery over Ahab and Jezebel. And Elisha is now powerful. Why? Because, like Mark Knopfler, the guitarist, he's not having to think about doing the right thing. There's no conflict for Elisha. There's just mastery. He just does it. And that's the call for our spiritual lives. To be so good at the things that we do that when some situation comes along, we don't think twice about it. We just do the right thing. That's where the Lord wants us to be because that's where we'll be happiest because there's no internal and external conflict in that state. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. All the best to you on your journey. God bless.